Downloadable content gives gamers an optional extra slice of a game they enjoyed, such as new missions that expand the story, extra weapons, or Freddy Krueger. But though DLC is most often used to deliver more of the same, game makers occasionally go way off script with bizarre downloadable extras that take the game in a new and different direction. Hang on, why am I being probed again? Here are the times that DLC quite literally lost the plot. Along the way, beware mild spoilers for the following.
There are many kinds of undead horrors in a land ravaged by an apocalyptic plague.
We all know the Wild West, home to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Rockstar's classic Red Dead Redemption encompasses all three and so much more besides. Telling the story of John Marston, outlaw turned family man, Red Dead Redemption explores themes of absolution and the nature of progress, while John fights to change his ways before finally settling down on a ranch with his family to live happily ever after. That's how it ended in my playthrough anyway. Red Dead's story was so powerfully told and so poignantly wrapped up, it's hard to imagine there's any more story to tell. Unless... zombies? Yes, in the Undead Nightmare DLC, we find John in an alternate reality, where he comes home one day to find his wife looking a little under the weather. Don't worry, Abigail, we've all had mornings like that. As all hell breaks loose, John searches for a cure, but quickly discovers that Abigail isn't the only one down with the sickness, and that zombies aren't the only thing running around New Austin.
Players can collect the 4 horses of the apocalypse.
Yes, you could get weirdly adorable apocalypse ponies. War would set enemies on fire, famine and pestilence wouldn't ever tire, and death would, well...
causing cranial combustion as you ride through hell.
Yeah, that. But it wasn't all doom and gloom. You could find a rainbow-excreting unicorn to use as a mount, and even save the area from the evil Sasquatches.
You eat babies. You have to survive. Everyone knows that. Ain't your fault.
We eat berries and mushrooms, you fool!
Oh. The whole thing is enjoyable, but undoubtedly a jarring departure from the main game, even if it adds a variety of enemies for you to deal with, as explained by the amazing narrator of the trailer.
Resist the wretches. Their acidic vomit will eat you alive.
But like the railroad being a symbol of change in the main game, isn't the rise of the zombies just an allegory for the rise of consumerism in early 20th century America?
Shoot them in the head.
Sure.
Now, I stand here before you. What you see is a body 3D modeled to perfection. A pair of legs configured to defy the rules of the engine.
Arma 3 is a tactical sandbox shooter set within 300 square kilometers of photorealistic in-game territory. In other words, pretty serious business. The game's single-player campaign initially focuses on US Army soldier Ben Kerry and his survival behind enemy lines following a failed NATO operation. In other words, not the kind of scenario that typically features go-karts. Unless go-kart is a military acronym that we haven't heard of, like Geo, Ordnance, Karts. As such, it was a genuinely amusing April Fool's joke when in 2014, developer Bohemia Interactive said they would be introducing go-kart racing to their super serious military sim. I mean, can you imagine? The response to what was clearly a joke was so positive, however, that the next month, go-karts became Arma 3's first paid DLC, creating the kind of game you'd get if NATO called in Mario and pals to resolve a pan-European military crisis. And to be fair, Europe's diplomatic ties with the Mushroom Kingdom have been strong ever since.
More! More!
It's hard to imagine being afraid for your life while also wearing a birthday hat. I mean, unless you were present at my 5th birthday when Blinky the Clown got into the punch bowl. Nevertheless, birthday fun times and brutal survival horror rarely go together, which is why anyone who played through Resident Evil 7 and felt the terror of being hunted by the deranged Baker family would have been nonplussed by the follow-up DLC, Jack's 55th birthday.
Boy, I'm hungry. What is taking so long?
In this extremely weird add-on, Jack Baker, yes, that's the same Jack Baker who in the main game goes all on fire and tries to kill you in a car,
Oh boy!
is celebrating another trip around the sun, and it's up to you to keep him full of cheese fondue and spiced chicken, and other foods which clearly don't agree with him. Oof, maybe try cutting out gluten, Jack. Safe to say the bloodthirsty Moulded in the main game never wore novelty hats either, and I personally don't recall the guns firing confetti, but then I did play most of the game with my eyes closed, so who's to say? Hey though, at least all the weirdness makes the game less terrifying, right? Ah, Blinky, no! Wow, where'd that come from?
Your Highness, some of the people are attacking the pyramid.
This is madness. I've sacrificed my entire life for them. Do they not see?
Remember the American Revolution, big old war that started because some people in Boston thought you made tea with seawater?
That's not even close to what happened.
Okay, what it actually was the American people being sick and tired of being taxed without having any representation in Parliament. This period of history was explored in Assassin's Creed 3, as playable assassin Connor somehow ends up at every major historical event and becomes Washington's right-hand man.
Ah, so you're the one who saved Sam and John at Lexington.
It was the Patriots who did that. I merely lent support.
Video games! This is the same Commander Washington, of course, who became the first president of the United States, crafting the democratic process that Americans use to this day, albeit with a few amendments since. And there's plenty of rich historic drama to unpack there, we can tell you. Certainly there'd be no need to create bizarre DLC in which Washington becomes some kind of tyrant king. Dear God. Yes, with Assassin's Creed 3 DLC, The Tyranny of King Washington, the game throws any resemblance to actual events entirely out the window, instead presenting a story in which Washington becomes corrupted by the power bestowed upon him. The Constitution isn't signed, and Washington declares himself king, starting a whole new war against the American people, particularly the Native Americans. Also, in this timeline, Connor's not our least favourite assassin, because he's not an assassin. He does, however, end up facing an Apple of Eden wielding King Washington on top of his palace, as one does, and upon defeating him, they're both released from the illusionary timeline. That's right, it was all a dream. Just like that weird dream I had about that awful Indiana Jones movie with all the skulls. I don't know. Dear God.
The fifth entry in the Ace Attorney courtroom drama series, Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, doesn't shy away from heavyweight themes. Set in a dark era for the legal system, spiky-haired Phoenix returns to the bench to grapple with fabricated evidence, assassinations, and even a bombing in the courtroom. Dark times indeed, in a narrative that left many questions unanswered. One question that nobody was asking, however, was, could there be more killer whales? Nevertheless, enter DLC case Turnabout Reclaimed, in which Phoenix Wright puts aside his quest to bring justice back to the courts to defend an orca accused of murder. I mean, Whaley? There's no way this animal could be the Krilla. I mean, sure, motive and means, but what about orcatunity?
Please, just stop.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
You're just embarrassing yourself now.
Ludicrous though it may be, this DLC case spans several days of twisting plot, accusations, counter-accusations, and interviews with key witnesses, while everyone involved does a very good job of pretending there's nothing unusual about the fact that the defendant is a 6-ton marine mammal. Crazy. Though while we've got everyone in court, how about we talk about the ethics of making an orca wear a hat and pirate moustache? I do not believe there is this much swashbuckling in the wild.
They've been keeping us in cells, but I've managed to escape. I think I know what they want with our world, and they won't stop until they've taken hundreds or thousands of us.
The Fallout series teaches us that in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, the real monsters are humans. and rad scorpions, and super mutants, and deathclaws. Yep, you are the lone wanderer searching the wastelands for your father, helping those in need, and trying to avoid getting your kneecaps eaten off by a mole rat. It's all about surviving in a radiation-filled world, and within that world, half buried in the wasteland, is a fun Easter egg for players happy to explore, a bona fide wrecked UFO. Fun, right? Then developer Bethesda took that Easter egg and turned it into a giant DLC omelette, one that had nothing to do with conquering the wasteland and everything to do with, well, aliens? In cosmically weird Fallout 3 DLC Mothership Zeta, you follow a radio signal to the wrecked craft but then get beamed up in a haze of blue swirls, waking up to see aliens looming over you, conducting some sort of freaky outer space experiment. So that's where I got that phobia of probing. Wondered. Luckily you wake up in a cell with badass Soma, who knows of a good way to get you both out, one that involves you being punched really hard.
So that's what we do. We throw a few punches, make it look real, and then jump them when they come in to break it up.
Good plan, Soma, just not the face, okay? It's the moneymaker on the YouTubes. This plan works a charm, and as you explore the ship, the plot thickens. And by thickens, we mean spins wildly off into a bizarre space romp that involves splatting aliens, meeting other captives, and figuring out how the hell you're going to get back to the actual game. All told, this self-contained DLC adventure is among gaming's weirdest. Although the aliens' interrogation of their human captives has sparked theories that these little green jerks may have had something to do with triggering the Great War back on the surface, so maybe it's not so self-contained after all. Oi, you can have all the weird DLC spin-offs you want, Fallout, just leave the main canon of the game alone. That's for my fanfiction, The Lone Wanderer on Ice.
Take them out!
So those were the times that DLC kind of lost the plot a little bit, went a bit sideways from the main storyline and kind of made us go, oh, okay, right, sure. Well, let us know of any that you can think of in the comments down below. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and also you should check out these videos here, and I promise you that they don't go off the plot. They're more amazing stuff from us, which you should totally watch. And also, if you do like this video and want to see more, you should click subscribe and you will always see it. YouTube will tell you and it'll be great. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye. Bye.